Namaskar. Let us first sum up what we have tried to understand in the last session. We have understood that etymologically the Sanskrit word Tantra means expansion of our consciousness to the highest possible level so that we can be liberated to a higher state of existence from our present limited state of existence. We have seen that consciousness is that constant inner intuitive self-knowledge that I am. We have seen that we are in fact consciousness and not this body or mind or our five sense organs. They are just the tools that consciousness uses. This is what we have seen so far. Now then, although everyone is born with a minimum level of consciousness required for human birth, all humans do not necessarily have the same level of consciousness. There are those who are born with an extremely high degree of consciousness by birth. They are called bodhisattvas. Gautama Buddha was a bodhisattva. It is a fact that not everyone exhibits the same level of consciousness in our daily lives. If there are 30 students in a class, their ability to understand things will be at 30 different levels. Darwinian theory of evolution is defined in terms of evolution of the physical body of living beings through a process of natural selection. In other words, the Darwinian theory of evolution is about the evolution of the hardware. Just as a computer has both a hardware and a software, everything in this universe is a combination of hardware and software. Some hardware can be seen with our eyes. Examples of gross hardware that we can see include materials like trees, rocks, stones, oysters, elephants, sheep, so on and so forth. Some hardware is not visible. They are invisible. Examples include magnetic field, gravity field, electric field, air, wind, etc. They are not at all visible to us. However, we know that they exist. For all the hardware, visible or invisible, there is a software embedded within itself. That software is consciousness. It is the software that determines and limits the capabilities of its hardware. In other words, an appropriate level of hardware is created for each version of the software. DOS was the operating system used on Acorn, the first personal computer released by IBM in 1980s. Today's Microsoft's Windows 10 operating system software will not work on that Acorn computer. For that Acorn software, Acorn hardware, for that hardware needs to be upgraded a lot. Darwin was dealing with such hardware upgradation. What we are talking here now is software upgradations. Our physical body is the hardware. The consciousness housed in our physical body is the software that empowers and runs it. Our existing version of consciousness, which is akin to the software, should be developed as far as the hardware called the physical body allows. Only then can we abandon this limited hardware and use another superior hardware. Who should do that upgradation of consciousness? We have to do it ourselves. At the time of death, when this hardware is discarded, what determines our next level of hardware is the level of our consciousness we have reached. That is the consciousness that we have reached at that time. We need to understand that there is no purpose in our life other than the evolution of our consciousness. Evolution of our consciousness means our own evolution, since we are consciousness. The process of realizing the fact that we are not the body, but we are consciousness, empowering the body, and realizing that our purpose in life is to expand this consciousness, and taking the required efforts and succeeding in our efforts to expand our consciousness is called self-realization or enlightenment. In short, certain practices in Tantra are the superhighways or jet planes for self-realization. Self-realization transcends all caste, creed, ethnicity, and national differences, everything. Self-realization is possible for everyone born as a normal human being. It is not the monopoly of anyone or any religion. You can do it, I can do it, everyone else can do it. Now, two things become clear here. What I had said so far. From what I have said so far, that is, there are two aspects to our life that we must not overlook. We have spiritual and physical aspects to our life. In other words, metaphysical and physical aspects of our life. However, generally, during the course of our life, we tend to pay attention only to our physical or material aspect of life. We do not usually recognize that there is a spiritual or metaphysical aspect of our life. That is the one reason why our consciousness does not develop fast enough. Physical aspects of our lives are extremely limited. The physical part of life is like that of little tip of the iceberg in the ocean. It is similar to the large unseen part of that iceberg, that is our spiritual aspect, remains. We know that 87% of an iceberg remains submerged and unseen in the ocean. Self-realization is discovering and expanding that unseen, submerged part of our phenomenal existence in this world. We need to give equal importance in achieving both our outer physical objectives for a comfortable physical life and our inner spiritual objectives for evolution of the consciousness. One should not be at the cost of the other. They are like the two wings of a bird, and the bird needs two wings to fly. It cannot fly with one wing alone. That is why Jesus Christ said, "What does it mean to gain the whole world but lose your soul?" If you take spirituality, consciousness, and self-realization, etc., religious topics, because of the word spirituality, you are mistaken. These topics are as universal in nature as the practice of physical exercises and breathing exercises are. These topics can benefit everyone in every religion. Moreover, as self-realization develops, our outlook on life becomes deeper and wider, and we can come out of the barriers of religion and become a truly universal citizen. I would like to share a personal fact about myself here. I was initiated into meditation by a gentleman of Arab descent. He was a Muslim by religion, and Arabic was his mother tongue. What more proof would one need to realize that spirituality transcends race and religion? A notable feature of Tantra is that there is no contradiction between spirituality and materialism in Tantra. Considering them as the two sides of the same coin, Tantra does not dictate a contradiction between the two. If those who are immersed in materialism are excommunicated for spirituality, or those who are immersed in spirituality are told that materialism is forbidden, then the evolution of consciousness will be impossible for beginners who hold both spiritual aspirations as well as materialistic desires. Therefore, Tantra has offered practices in a very systematic way for everyone on all walks of life for developing their consciousness. Here is the relevance of Tantra. Tantra gives each set of people with different curriculum exercises or action plans according to their level of consciousness. That is the reason for this great diversity of spiritual practices seen in India. It is relatively easy to understand subjects that we can see, hear, touch, taste, and know with our five senses, namely our eyes, tongues, nose, ears, and skin. But when it comes to subjects beyond the capability of these five senses, we must develop some special capability in understanding the unseen. It is like learning to swim. If we keep trying, we will learn how to swim without realizing ourselves. We can't study swimming by looking at a textbook. Firstly, we need to be really interested in such esoteric subjects. Secondly, there must be a strong, unquenchable desire to understand it. Thirdly, many of the esoteric knowledge we gather may not necessarily make any sense to our skeptical minds at first. Hence, our mind may not immediately accept it. It is only when our consciousness gradually expands that our doubts vanish on their own. This is much similar to the light displacing darkness. Therefore, when it comes to such knowledge that you are not sure of, that drop of knowledge should be collected and retained just as bees gather honey, and not just reject it outright or blindly accept it either. You need to roll it in your own mind. Gradually, that doubt will clear all by itself. It may take time, but that retained drop of knowledge will one day help us to complete our understanding. If we dismiss a new concept as stupid and reject it, we lose that drop of knowledge. If we thus lose it, when we need that specific piece of knowledge at a later date, in order to fully understand any subject, it won't be there for us. So, we need to keep an open-minded approach to move forward with esoteric learnings. This is a very important point that we should remember. In addition, there is an important principle that we can adopt for understanding the esoteric subjects. This principle is called the principle of correspondence. Simply put, that principle is the efficient way of using analogies and similes from a known topic to understand an unknown topic. If we use what we already know as a liver, we can comprehend what we do not yet know. The principle of correspondence is one of the 7 most valuable golden keys given to the disciples by the ancient Greek sage Hermes Trismegistus. He has also given 6 other golden keys. If you are interested in learning them, please read about them in the book by the name The Kabbalion. If we use this golden key skillfully, we can open many unopened doors of knowledge. The usage of examples in our everyday life work in line with the principle of correspondence. Let me give you a small example to demonstrate the principle of correspondence. By understanding the atomic structure, that is, how the electrons, protons, and neutrons are arranged within an atom, one can easily understand how the solar system is organized. Both are things at different levels. Both are in 2 different dimensions. They are things of 2 different realms. Knowledge of one will help to understand the other. This is due to the fact that there is always a similarity or a correspondence between the laws and phenomena that exist in different planes of existence. The application of such techniques will greatly help to expand our consciousness. More on consciousness in the next sessions. Thank you.